Last time on Square Roots, Zio tries to blast Chaz with his gunk, but Alice takes it to the chest instead. Later, Rune finally gets his hands on that wand. Hi guys, welcome to Square Roots, the classic RPG podcast. I'm your host, Vanessa. I am joined by my co-host, Matthew Van Zant.
Hello.
And John Blast to the Chest Brandon.
Oh, I got all this black wave all over me.
Sadly, we are once again without our dear friend, co-host, confidant, party member. We are without our friend Jim Banks. Oh yeah, I know, it's been so long. Nobody even knows. I think he used to come around here, but not no more, as Tom Petty said.
He's busy working on his other podcast.
Mm-hmm. Probably. He probably has
Banksing
podcast
around.
in every state.
Yeah. Banksing around.
He's always
where he
going on
goes
those
to
work
Banks and
trips.
reviews them.
No, it's his travel podcast, International Banking.
Ah, I would listen to that. On this show, we play a bit of a classic role-playing game, a chunkarino at a time, and then we talk about it. It's like a book club for people who don't like to read, but like to play classic role-playing games.
It's like a video game for your mind.
It's a video game for your mind. This week we are talking about Phantasy Star 4.
Fancy Star.
Originally for probably the Sega Genesis?
Yeah,
Probably.
Is that what that was on?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's one of them Japanesey looking games with little 16-bit pixel dudes, and it's pretty cool.
This is part 3, right?
I don't know, probably.
This is part 3 of our Fantasy
This
Star
is part
It is.
3
series.
of Final Fantasy Star.
Final Fantasy Star. Yeah, I want to play that game.
Part 4. I would also play that game.
Who would win between a Fantasy Star party and a Final Fantasy party?
Well, I haven't seen a Phantasy Star party member cast Ultima, so I'm gonna go with Final Fantasy. What do you think, John?
Yeah, you know what? I think the Espers are the big clincher. Although you can get like giant ships to shoot people in this game, which is pretty good. But even then, I think an Esper can wreck a giant ship.
You know,
Certainly.
I think maybe you just got to look at the numbers. I don't know that anybody on my Fantasy Star team is ever going to have a move that does 9,999 damage. So,
Yeah, their moves seem to max out around 300 for me.
yeah, I think I've read that the Grand Cross mash 'em up power, when you're really leveled out, it will do like 500 damage.
Yeah. However, I do think that a Phantasy Star spaceship could beat 'em up a Final Fantasy airship real good.
For sure. I don't know. Have we seen any weapons on the Fantasy Star spaceships?
I assume they're there.
I
They
haven't seen
have
any.
weapons on their, like, Land Rover. A
Yeah.
Land Rover could beat a Chocobo.
That's true. That is definitely true. Because the Land Rovers are so massive. And how did Demi describe the Land Rover last time? Massive.
It's massive, it's shiny, it's impressive, it's hefty,
Yeah.
it's girthy,
A little
it's
veiny.
powerful. Yeah, it vibrates.
Demi was way into that Land Rover.
Easily
Well, that makes
cleanable
sense. She's
is,
a robot.
Big important aspect of the
Easily
Land Rover.
cleanable is important. You don't want it to be too porous so that it gets dirt and bacteria in it. Anyway, before we get to all of that, we're going to do a little segment we like to call Level Up,
Can I be
where we
last?
talk about... Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Where we talk about how we leveled up this week. Matt, how did you level up this week?
I've been sick for the last 5 days, so though I'm feeling much better now, and I don't think that you'll hear it in my voice, I definitely have watched, I think, about 10 movies.
Please list them in alphabetical order.
I will list them, and I will give them A to F ranking, and then if anybody wants to discuss any of them in detail or has any questions, we'll go from there. So let's see. I started with Blade Runner 2049. It was a solid B+. It's very pretty. The plot feels irrelevant. I then watched... Oh, God, now I'm not even going to be able to remember them all. All right, let's see. Blade Runner 2049. I watched Atomic Blonde, which is really good. I watched Murder on the Orient Express, which was like a solid B. So was Atomic Blonde. So I guess they were all solid B+ movies. I watched Arrival, which was really good and made me cry a lot, and I don't think I'll ever watch it again. I watched Kingsman 2: The Golden Circle, and I thought it was so over-the-top stupid as to be a solid B+. I think that's true. I think that's it. And I watched Thor Ragnarok twice, because that movie's really good. That's an A+.
It was my understanding that you had also watched Full Metal Alchemist.
No, I watched about 15 minutes of the Full Metal Alchemist movie, and I decided pretty quickly that it is just not for me. I love the anime, but the movie is a little too cheap.
All right.
Well, anyway, that's about it for me. I watched a bunch of movies, and I was sick. What about you, Vanessa? How did you level up?
Oh, Matt. Well, I didn't level up this week.
Oh.
I thought and thought and thought, and I couldn't come up with anything. So I think it's time, it's been a while coming, for me to tell my most classic level up story.
Oh, I know what this is.
Of course you do.
It's a real gold mine of...
It's a real treasure.
It's a real treasure.
A story. This all started back in 2015. Barack Obama was president. It was a better time.
There was a sexy grandma on Square Roots. Wait, were we around in 2015?
No, this is pre-Square Roots. So far back, it's hard to remember, but it happened. Anyway, it all started on Facebook. I was browsing my feed, as I always do, and I saw that a friend of mine had liked Taco Bell, which I thought was silly. So I took a screenshot of it with the intention of mocking him for liking Taco Bell on Facebook. But then I paid closer attention to the accompanying ad, and I saw that they were advertising that they were giving away a golden PlayStation 4. Well, it so happens that I was very much desirous of owning a PlayStation 4. So I clicked on the ad and I read all about it. First, it seemed to indicate that you had to buy a big queso box or something like that and eat it in order to get one of their 6,000 PlayStation 4s they were giving away. Now, I didn't want to eat any Taco Bell, so that could have been the end of my journey right there, if it weren't for the American law that requires any giveaway run by a corporation to have a free-to-enter option. So I read about the free-to-enter option, and it turns out you could use their special free-to-enter code once a day to enter to win a golden PlayStation. So I thought, well, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to win the Taco Bell golden PlayStation, and then I won't have to buy one for myself. So every day I entered, and every day it said, sorry, you're not a winner, which I thought was ridiculous because by my calculation, they were giving away a free PlayStation every 10 minutes. So why shouldn't I have one of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So on the very last day of the contest, I was feeling kind of dejected because I hadn't gotten the PlayStation and I really wanted one. So it was like the last hour of the contest, something like 11:15 at night. And I knew this was my very last chance to use my special once-a-day code to get my golden PlayStation. So I went on my mobile phone from the comfort of my own bed, and I entered the free-to-play code, and a message popped up that said, congratulations! You got the golden PlayStation!
What?
Then I waited a few weeks, and then it came in the mail, and it was shiny and golden, and it came with the Uncharted collection and a year's membership to PlayStation Plus, and that's how I got my golden PlayStation. The
Nice.
end.
That's an uplifting story of sticking it to the man.
Yeah,
Kind of.
of survival and
It is.
never given upness.
That's right. I could have given up, but I didn't. I stuck with it. I had a goal. I knew what I wanted. I pursued my goal, and I got my golden PlayStation. Some people ask me, Vanessa, did you sell that golden PlayStation and then buy a normal PlayStation and keep the extra money? Well, I considered it. But in the end, I decided that my golden PlayStation was special to me, and so I kept it. And it sits at the foot of my bed, and I wake up every morning and look at it and say, hello, Goldie. You are my best friend.
You didn't name it after Taco Bell?
No.
Taco Station.
I did choose my PlayStation username based on Taco Bell. I will not reveal on the air what it is. I don't want your messages or screenshots.
Of your genitals.
Of your genital. I mean, that's what it really comes down to. Let's be honest. I like to think that our listeners are a little bit more sophisticated than that, but you never know who might creep into our feed and try to slide into my DMs.
Yeah, Vanessa, if she could block all the other DMs and just get dick pics, she would be perfectly happy. But for whatever reason, everybody wants to send her letters and pictures of their dogs. And Vanessa's like, I just want to see the D.
I'm not a dog person.
You're
just
a D
not.
person.
I'm a D person. So that is my classic level up, and I never told it on the podcast before because most people who know me have heard it 18 times because I won't shut up about the time I won the Taco Bell Golden PlayStation. But to be fair, would you?
I'm kind of surprised that you, it is really cool. Kind of surprised that you have not since then entered into every contest that's ever giving away something because clearly you are charmed.
Matt, I went through a phase after I won this Golden PlayStation where I thought I was charmed and I would enter every contest that was ever happening and win them all. Turns out I didn't, and eventually I lost steam because even though I had a sort of throwaway email I was using, it was just full of junk all the time from all the contests I had entered. I did try to win. I think they were giving away a PlayStation VR headset this year at Taco Bell. I tried to get me one of those, and it didn't happen. But I didn't really want it. I think the secret to the secret, which is the book, is that you need to go for what you really want and not be distracted by things you don't.
Wish it, want it, have it. That's all it takes.
And
Flip
share
it,
with
bop
the
it,
world. Yeah,
slap it.
share with the world what you want. I told my friends that I was going to win the PlayStation. They laughed at me. I posted on a Facebook group, of which some of us are members, that I was going to get it. And people were like, ha ha, ha ha, that's funny. But it wasn't funny. It was true.
And it was true. And we
And it was
never
true.
should have doubted you.
You never should have doubted me. And we should all be grateful to Taco Bell because if I didn't have a PlayStation 4, I wouldn't be able to play a lot of the games that we play for Square Roots.
That's true.
Thank you,
really,
Taco Bell.
Yeah, thank you, Taco Bell. I still don't want to eat your big box.
What?
So,
She
John.
doesn't want to eat Taco Bell's big box.
Oh,
I don't want to eat the big box.
that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I've only had Taco Bell
John.
twice in my life,
Oh.
and both times I got real sick.
Yeah, sometimes when I talk about my PlayStation, people are like, ha ha, you must have been so sick. And I was like, no, I took advantage of American law.
It's also Canadian law, TYVM.
Is it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The free to enter option.
I do want to eat some nacho fries, though. Some
What?
really good.
That
Some
sounds so
nacho
gross.
fries and some stackers.
No.
John!
Yeah.
How did you level up?
Oh. How did I level up? A story by John Brandon.
Oh.
I finished a television series called The Good Place, starring Kristen
Oh,
Bell and
No
Ted
spoilers.
that's a good show.
And I liked the first season very much, which was on Netflix. So I decided to buy the second season on iTunes.
Mm.
Oh.
And that second season was incredible. It's definitely a good follow-up to that first season.
No idea.
I was
which way
so
that was
nervous
going.
there for
I
a
was on
moment.
the edge of my seat, John.
Me too.
Well,
It
that's
is
good to hear.
my current favorite show on television. I've also been catching up with RuPaul's Drag Race, which is having an all-stars season right before their regular season, and it's fine. It's fine. It's now on VH1, so like straight people have found it, which is interesting. Just seeing it blow up 10 years in, now it's getting really popular with straight people. That's kind of bonkers.
It seems like straight people are enjoying a renaissance of
Gay culture?
gay
Television?
culture. Yeah, with the return of Queer Eye for the Straight Guy on Netflix as well.
It's now just Queer Eye because there's some not just straight guy people. And I have a lot of thoughts about that show. That show is that kind of middle of the road activism where it's like you just got to be nice to people and throw $50,000 renovations into their house and they'll like you.
Well, that's true, but not necessarily the most practical way to win people to your side, and not perhaps the most kindly way to look at other people to say, oh, you have to give them $50,000 in order for them to like you.
One episode, it's episode 2, that's definitely, I think, the most controversial, where they're going to make over this guy who's like a NASCAR supporter and very, very Red America, let's call him. And like his big thing is he likes to dress up in silly costumes for the NASCAR games and like help out at fundraisers and stuff. And as they're going to his house, they get pulled over, and the actors do not know, or not the actors, the hosts do not know what's going on. And the cop starts asking the black driver to get out of the car, and he's legit nervous. And then the cop's like, so you're coming to help out my friend get his style on, and everyone's laughing and happy. And
That's not funny.
yeah. Well, so the driver, Caramo, he is from Houston, so he's definitely grown up in the South being a gay black man, which is something I have no reference to. But he drives to Atlanta with the cop guy, who is the NASCAR guy, who also they find lots of Trump signs in his house, which is pretty funny. And they have just a talk, like he's like,
funny.
I was really just set to dislike you because of the cop stuff and because of the Trump stuff. Like, I really thought I was going to get shot that day. And the guy's like, oh, hey, people don't like cops either. And he's like, yeah, cops don't like black guys. And they actually have a talk, and it's nice. It is very touching, the talk between them.
Oh, that's good that they don't just ignore the issue.
Yeah, for sure. It's still, I find that they're being obsequious to get this guy on your side. And a lot of people are like, well, that's the only way that you can ever convince people otherwise of your basic humanity, which I understand is, I think sometimes you do have to be nice. And that is the only way that social change happens, by flattery and by working with people and finding common ground. But it's tough. But if this guy can do it.
It is tough.
And, a black man from the South, but he is being paid. I don't know. I have a lot of feelings on it. I think it's very complicated. I think the show is a relic of 2005 in a lot of ways, but is trying to modernize itself too.
I don't think anyone should ever feel obligated that they need to behave in a certain way to change the minds of other people about the group they belong to.
I mean, in a perfect world, you wouldn't need to do that at all, because
people would use their ding-dang imaginations and realize, oh, probably this person isn't so different from me, without having to have it, shoved down their throat and able to convince them to be a good person.
Well, how about it doesn't matter if they're not so different from you. They're a living, breathing human being, and they deserve a basic amount of respect and freedom and decency. And if you can't provide that, you shouldn't leave your fucking house.
Yeah, stay home.
Stay home.
There's lots to do at home.
No reason for anybody to have to deal with your dumb ass.
Yeah.
You can't fucking accept people.
It's 2008.
No, it is not.
Oh.
You are 2000 and late.
Oh, no. Hey, guys, it's time for the quest log.
All right.
This is when we talk about the game part of our game podcast. And we're going to get right into what we played this week.
Let's do it. Final Fantasy IV Part 3 Square Roots presents...
Final Fantasy IV? I don't think we're playing that this year.
No, we're not.
Is that what I said?
Yes.
Yes.
You're terrible at this.
Yes.
This
Yeah,
game should
it's
not
very
have such similar
complicated.
names. It is!
Well, it has a P instead of an F. That's
What
how
if
you
there
know
was
it's
a-
fancy. It's fancy
I wanna-
spelled Phan.
I want to make
CY.
my own game called Final Fantasy, but both Final and Fantasy are spelled with a PH.
Good
You should call it
job.
Final Fantasy Star.
All
wait,
the
Fanta-
chocobos are robots
Oh.
with laser guns.
Oh, no. So last time we were feeling anxious because we were entering this large base called Nervous.
Oh.
Ah! It's like the
And,
nerve center to Zio's fortress.
That's
I
right.
guess. Nervous is in Zio's fortress, right?
Yes.
And we
Or it's
played
underneath.
through...
It's in the basement.
Yeah, so we played through the top of Zio's fort,
Mm-hmm.
and now we're going to play the bottom of Zio's fort.
Anywhere we can go in Zio's fort, we are going.
Mm-hmm.
And some places we shouldn't.
Uh-oh.
So we get to Nervous. It's another one of them high-techy looking robot rooms.
Oh.
Boy, these all look the same, huh?
They do all
Well,
look the same.
Except that the top of the tower was like all statues and brickwork, and now the bottom is all robots and circuits.
Yeah,
well,
but
that's
my
very
point,
discontinent.
My point was that all of these robots and circuits level dungeons look the exact same.
Yes, you are 100%
And-
correct.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And there are a million of them.
There's basically, I think, 2 dungeon tile sets in this game.
Yep, there's Old Statue Castle, and there's Robot Nerve Center Room.
Oh, there's also
Oh,
caves.
this is where Persona
There is
got
also
it.
caves.
Yeah.
Where Persona got the idea for levels that all look the same.
Yes.
So we go through here. There's some good equipments to get, and it's kind of a long slog.
Yep.
But when
Right.
you get... It is, yeah.
Yep.
When you get down to the bottom, we run into our old pal, chest blaster himself, Zio.
Zio!
Oh, how's that buddy with his giant shoulder pads doing?
Where are
seems
the
to be
other
doing
four
the same.
Power Rangers, is my question. Zio's the Black Ranger, obviously.
What?
What?
Power Ranger Zio? I feel like that's something that exists. I might be making it up.
I've never heard of that.
Okay, well, you've heard of fucking Power Rangers, right?
Yes.
Sure.
Jesus. Hey, man, go have a young son. Trust me, you watch a lot of Power Rangers.
I will go have a young son right now.
His name?
His name will be
Corona.
Grooze.
Cruz?
Cruz? Ted Cruz?
No, Grooze.
There
Cruz.
is, in fact, a show titled Power Rangers Zio.
Oh. I guess John and I are just too childless to understand your hip young cultural references.
Okay, well, I have some kids. Also, Vanessa, you're younger than me. You weren't watching Power Rangers as a kid?
I thought you were going to say you should have children by now, and we were
No!
about to have some words.
That is not what I was going to say.
It's true. Vanessa's much younger than Matthew.
Yes, so young.
Well, it's hard not to be younger than me, considering I'm an old man.
Mm-hmm. Matthew's
My
about
hip hurts.
67 years old.
What's your fantasy star?
I have seen Power Rangers. However, it never really appealed to me because I do not like a mech.
A what?
Weird. You don't like a
I don't
mech?
like a mech. I don't like a
Oh,
mech.
I thought you were using a ethnic slur against Irish people.
You know what's funny, Vanessa? I like a mech, and I have never found a mech show that I like. I like the idea of a mech. I don't like any mech I ever seen.
Have you seen Neon Genesis Evangelion?
Yes, that show is. I have not watched the whole thing, so I would want to reserve judgment. But I've watched about half, and I think it's terrible.
That show is so much Final Fantasy VII in some ways, like and Xenogears and all like those late 90s RPGs are so Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Because it's all right. It's all like tortured protagonists that are forced into these situations. It's terrible. I could go the rest of my life without seeing that kid from Neon Genesis Evangelion cry again. So that's why I've never finished the series.
But I think it's really good for teens. I think it's good because it is about a mopey teen protagonist, and sometimes it's good to see characters you identify with.
I agree that a lot of people like that show. It's just not for me. I don't know why. Whatever.
But that's okay. Not everything is for everyone.
That's a good point. My original point, though, was that I think it's funny that I love a mech. I think that's such a neat thing. I can't think of a single mech that I've ever, like, show or movie that I've been like, yeah, this is what it's like.
Those crazy angels in that show, really, I thought they were awesome.
Yeah. No, I don't mean visually. I mean just the show itself. Like, I don't like any Gundams. I didn't particularly like Pacific Rim. I don't like all that stuff, macroses and all that. I don't like any of it. None of it ever.
Avatar?
You ever play a video game that had a mech that you liked?
Not that I can think of, but I don't know that I've played a ton.
Well, wait till we get to Xenogears.
Yeah, I was about to say, we were talking about Zeo, and now we're talking about mechs.
Yeah,
I am excited about
I've got through
Xenogears.
one sentence of our summary.
Let's go.
So, Zeo's here, and I don't know about you guys, but I had some problems with him.
I remember having to search back in 1995. 16-year-old John's like, I'm going to go look on the internet because I can't figure this out. I was very dumb.
That's what happened to me. I had to look on the internet because I couldn't figure it out. How about you, Matt?
I also looked on the internet because I could not figure it out, and also I was trying to hurry, so I kind of fact this whole episode.
I would say in general, I think that if you design a game where someone has to look on the internet in order to figure it out, you have not designed the game very well. But perhaps something was lost in translation.
I feel like they probably did give you a clue somewhere in there. But unfortunately, this game is so obtuse and poor at explaining itself that, of course,
we could not figure it out. So what the situation is if you try to fight Zeo, he has this magical invincibility barrier around him, and he'll just kill you with his nightmare attack.
Yep.
Which, you know those shadow things in Kingdom Hearts that ride on your back? It's one of those.
It's a cum guardian.
Comes on out.
Yeah.
He's got a cum guardian.
He has a cum guardian. So, but you can use your psycho wand on him, just like you used it on the door to remove the barrier there. You can remove his barrier with your psycho wand.
His cum guardian kind of looks like Nemesis from the Resident Evil series.
I think I made that observation the last episode.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh, I apologize. I didn't realize that. It's funny that we had the same.
But he totally does.
The same thought.
And
is it funny that you had the same thought, or is it that you heard John say that, forgot that he said it, and decided it was your own original thought?
A lot like Nemesis.
Is it also... Yeah, he looks a lot like Nemesis.
But Dark Force came out like, this is the end boss from Final Fantasy... I'm doing it too. This is the end boss from Phantasy Star 1 and 2 and 3.
It's always this.
He's always
I gotta admit, I think I said this last week, but just in case, I think that as this game progresses and the plot makes it more clear that this is just a standard paint-by-numbers, hero's journey bullshit plot, the more kind of bored I get. I really thought this was going to be something... It is really interesting and different in a lot of ways that I really love, and I'm really enjoying the game, but I'm a little bummed out that there's not maybe just a little more to this kind of... Also, the evil villain's name is Dark Force, guys. And they say it like his name is Bob. They'll be like, Dark Force is coming. Dark Force is coming over, and he's bringing chips. No. It's not a name. All
If
right.
only it had some numbers after it. That would be a pretty classic 90s screen name.
I think
Dark Force 023.
for 16-bit RPGs that don't follow that path, there's basically Final Fantasy VI, Chrono Trigger, and Dragon Quest V.
You don't think Chrono Trigger followed the hero's journey?
It got weird, like the hero died.
Anyway, yeah, we take down the barrier, and we kill up that Zio.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
He's not really that hard once you take down the barrier.
He ain't
No,
so big without
and-
your barrier, are you, Zio?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once we took your cum guardian away,
mhm.
nemesis. Your cum
And-
nemesis.
Yep. And Grizz is really happy because his whole journey was to kill Zio
Mhm.
because Zio had smashed up his village.
Mm-hmm.
And Grizz is like, cool, we did it. Goodbye.
Later
Yes.
days, Grizz. Later
Mhm.
days.
Was not sad to see
buddy.
Grizz go.
No, he didn't really have much of a personality. He was just kind of a blue owl.
Mhm.
He also sucked by the end in my party. He was doing very little good for anybody.
I had him have he had a good axe. He was still doing a lot of damage, and he could take a beating.
So,
Okay.
we can shut down Nervous now, and then the game will be over, right? Because, we beat
We
the final
saved the
villain.
world. We killed Zio and his cum
Mhm.
guardian.
But wait,
So you're-
Demi's like, to shut down Nervous and to shut down all these systems, I gotta like become one with it. And there's a weird shot of her like
That's
getting
right.
into the computer.
Yeah, Demi goes all up in there,
She's in
and
the
she's like,
computer's
goodbye
guts.
forever. Yep, she gets up in them guts,
Ah!
and I guess plugs herself into Nervous, and she looks really happy about it,
Yep.
as you
Yeah.
said.
My
She
notes
is
say in
Into
order.
this.
Zio was a real letdown. Demi sacrificed herself. Who cares? And Grizz leaves. And who cares? Because who cares about any of these characters?
Hey.
So, Demi tells you, hey, I got some bad news. Turns out Nervous isn't the source of our problems. The source of our problems is coming from a satellite in outer space. And the characters are all like, well, we live in a fantasy world with swords and stuff, so this is kind of a problem. How are we supposed to get up there? And she's like, don't worry about it. I got a spaceship. So, a space center, the whole center, like the headquarters, the shuttle,
Mhm.
the blast off rig, emerges out of the sand.
Do you think that there is a food court at this space center?
I imagine so, a break room of some sort. There might even be cots for engineers who have to work long hours and want to take a nap.
Do you think they have one of those Best Buy vending machines where you can buy headphones and stuff?
That might be a little much.
Okay.
I don't think they want to brand their space center like that.
Is there Hudson News?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
So you pick up the latest John Grisham novel and hop onto your spaceship. And
oh boy.
you're
Everyone is
outta
super
here.
excited.
You're done
about
with that
this.
planet.
I mean, I can't blame them. I would be excited to go on a spaceship too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm from
I
like
did a little,
medium future world.
Mm-hmm. Well, I did a little miscellany task before I hopped onto this spaceship. I went back to the Hunters Guild and did some hunting.
Ooh, which
Are
tasks
all-
did you do?
Yeah.
I did all of the ones that were available. I think my favorite one was there was a missing student.
Yeah, that one's really
And
good.
so I went back to the college town or the town of learning or whatever Chaz likes to call it.
Aido.
Yes,
Oh
and
no,
you
it's not
go
Aido.
to
It's
No.
no.
oh,
It's
it's
the
Piata.
very first
Piata.
one.
Piata.
Piata.
I can't keep these names straight, and it's a big problem when I'm trying to teleport from town to town to do a task because I never have any idea of where I'm going. So you show up there, and the I guess house mother guy is like, "Hey, one of our students is missing. It's not cool." I walked around the dorms a little bit to try to look for a clue. There weren't really any. Some of the other students were like, "Yeah, she's missing. She ain't here. I don't know what to do about it." And there's this one girl who has a room in the dorms, and last time I was here, she was changing her clothes and said, "I'm changing. Get out of here." And so I went up to her again, and she said, "I'm still changing. Get out."
There's also
She's-
the student who's like, last time was like, I don't need to study, and this time's like, I failed all my classes.
Yeah. So, which I thought was kind of fun. You're seeing some of the consequences of your actions.
Mm-hmm.
So, I heard that she's into this weird religion, and the only weird religion I knew of is Zeodom.
Yeah.
Or Zeophilia, whatever you want to call it. So,
She was a real zeophyte.
a zeophyte. So I went to the town full of zeophytes, and most of them are kind of over it now.
Mhm.
They have realized that Zeo is dead, and they're like, yeah, I don't know what we were doing. That was weird.
The one
But
religious ecstasy guy still has religious ecstasy.
He still believes. I went and talked to him, and he was like, I'm never going to give up my faith, and again collapses on the floor and goes, Zeo, 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 Zeo. And so then I went into their temple, and it's empty except for one morose priest who's like, I don't know what I was thinking.
Yep.
And this girl, and she was like, I don't know how I got here or what I'm doing. And she turns and looks to the camera and very dramatically announces, I'm hungry.
Quick question.
Same.
Yes.
I didn't think to go look when I went back to this town. Is the dude still flopping around on the ground in ecstasy?
We
Over the
just
thought
talked
of
about that.
Just talked about that.
Like less than a minute ago.
Okay,
Holy
sometimes I'm not always paying
crow.
100% attention. Go fuck yourself. What happened? Tell me all about it.
So then you get a cutscene, or a cutaway, I guess, and this girl is in a bed, and there's an old man there, and he's like, yeah, she's real hungry. She's not coming out of this bed until she gets some food.
Now, fortunately, you happen to have bought all the things from the tourist town.
That's right, I did. And so I was like, well, what am I supposed to do about it? And I just talked to him again, and he's like, oh, you have like a kumquat. Give that to me. And it's very high in nutrition, and I'm going to give it to her. I didn't realize where I had gotten it from. So I guess, John, it was a good thing I bought all the stuff from the tourist town. It sounds like I would have had to go fetch it.
I think the name of that thing is a pun on Calorie Mate, which is like a snacky food you can get in Japan, like a ration sort of style, just a food you eat for some calories. Which
What's
I guess
it
all
actually
food is.
called? It's not a kumquat.
It's called like a Palorie Mate or something like that. But I think it also got butchered by translation, as everything did.
Yeah, so I feed this to this girl. She feels much better, and then I take her back to the dorm.
Oh boy.
And that was my side quest. Did you guys do any of the hunts?
I did.
Oh, tell me about it, John.
I rescued a little boy from an earthquake.
Oh.
Back in Earthquake Town, which we've solved all their problems.
Except for their missing little boy.
Well, yeah, there's a mom and her stupid son, and he lives right next to this giant crack in the ground, and she's like, yeah, he fell into it, and now he's gone. And so I went
she
there.
is shockingly crass about this. She's like, thought about looking for him, but anyway, I hope he's okay.
And there's monsters down there. You know.
What the fuck?
She's scared.
So you go down there, you fight some monsters, you find a slime, and then someone, I think maybe Rika, suggests that maybe it got eaten by the slime, and Chaz is like, don't say that. And you fight the slime and kill it, and the slime opens up its goop, and the little boy's still inside. And Rika's like,
and
if
he's
we
fine.
were 5 minutes later, he would have been digested.
Yuck.
And then the little boy runs and runs and runs around before leaving before leaving the cave.
I think my favorite part about this quest was that as you were walking through the cave, you come across his shoes,
Yes.
which he, I guess, took off. Or maybe the slime spat out
Yeah,
after
maybe
he
the
ate this
slime
child.
Spat them out, maybe. Now, this is a larger version of the slime that you were telling us about before, the blue and pink ones. Is this a private conversation, or can we talk about this on the show?
We can talk about it on the show. I feel that the design of these slimes, which is sort of like a slug-looking thing, and then you see I guess it's meant to be its underbelly. The underbellies are pink and
Petally?
sort of layered petally from the outside in and have a darker core. And I feel that the slimes are female.
Wait.
Yeah, so I don't know if... I don't want to speculate how that child got into that slime.
Oh, no.
No!
Oh, no.
Vanessa?
I said
Get
I
out!
didn't want to!
A reverse childbirth situation.
Oh.
Moving
After
on.
this quest, you could say that he is born again.
Boy.
So the mom seems okay about having the kid back. Not super
So
thrilled.
you meet this giant slug, you perform a cesarean on it.
So after we get the spaceship, we go to the other. I guess before we go to not Kuran. What's it called?
I don't know.
Zealand.
Some kind of satellite. Zealand.
Yeah.
I was all prepared for a fight, but there's nothing going on at Zealand, really.
Nope.
There's some chests,
Yep.
and you go, and still mourning the loss of your old robot, you meet a new robot.
He's tall.
This robot better though, right?
He better. He more handsome, and he's taller, and he's very good friends with Rika. Which is surprising, because Rika had never left her home, but turns out they've been Skyping a lot.
Yeah. And he's probably the one you were asking last episode who helped her design her outfits. I bet it was Ren.
I think you're right. And Ren is like, well, it's cool that you're here, but there's actually nothing wrong at this satellite. We gotta go to another satellite, Curran. And the robot's like, I'm gonna come too, because I feel it's my responsibility to take care of the satellites.
Ren.
He does have a name? Ren. Kylo Ren.
Yeah, exactly.
Kylo Ren.
He kind of looks like Kylo Ren,
Ren.
too.
It does look like Kylo Ren. Yep. And he lives in outer space. I think we've cracked the code.
Yep.
So we hop back on our space shuttle, and we're just going to fly on over to this other satellite. But turns out there's someone in the engine room.
Mm-hmm.
He's a ninja?
No, he's a crypt sorcerer? A chaos sorcerer.
I'm not clear on how he got into the engine room. I guess he was there the whole time.
Is it possible that he landed on the ship and then came in just like we did and then went into that room on his little feetsies?
Maybe he was waiting in the spaceport the whole time, hiding in the Hudson News.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So anyway, this guy is not into space travel, and he decides to shut the whole thing down.
Well, he was going to. He actually did not damage any of the systems.
No,
which is
he did not.
The joke I love.
So he's just like in the engine room, and they find him, and they're like, "Oh, what are you doing? We're gonna fight you." And they fight him with all of their fire powers and swords and skills
He's an
and
easy
thingies.
boss fight, too.
He's very easy boss fight. And turns out that when you're in a small enclosed space, in the dark void of space,
Yep.
it might not be a good idea to go smashing around and casting magical spells that explode and shock and freeze.
Yeah, you get a nice
Because,
little manga panel of like electric sparks covering every surface.
And Rune is like, Chaz, maybe you should have chilled a little bit on those attacks. And Chaz is like, you're one to talk.
Yeah.
So turns out they busted up their spaceship.
Yep.
And it's time for a crash landing.
Which Rika is super into.
Rika thinks it's great. Rika thinks that this is the best time she's ever had in her life, which it probably is because she lived in a room for however long. 16 years? 17?
I like the way Ren treats it like it's the most routine thing on the planet. Like, Ren is like, we will have a crash landing now.
And Chaz is like, because he's dumb.
Chaz is always like that.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
He sucks.
Yep. He does suck. And he has a stupid headband. Anyway,
I think Ren
we
has a
land...
stupider headband.
Yes, he does.
Is that a headband or is it part of himself? Because he is a robot.
It is, I think, part of himself, but it still basically looks like a face sock.
Yeah.
That covers everything but his face and hair.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Not a good look.
Yeah. So,
Looks real 90s comic book character.
It does. You gently touch down on top of a sacred temple and smash it up real good.
Yeah. They deserved it.
And come on out of your spaceship, and there's a whole bunch of piccolos there.
There's a whole bunch of piccolos, as well as some munchkins singing a song, and there's 2 little feet sticking out from underneath your ship.
That last part is not true,
Ding
but there
dong,
are some
our God
piccolos.
is dead. God is dead.
And there's one piccolo named Raja, who's like, hey, it wasn't great how you smashed up the temple, but all right, these things happen, and I can take you to another more better spaceship so you can leave.
After about 20 minutes of weird dad jokes from Raja.
Yes.
Raja looks like, and I guess they all do, they look like Piccolo with kind of cat faces. Now, Raja in my head sounds like Hermes from Futurama for some reason.
I just imagine him like kind of a doddering old man talking about, machines falling from the sky. And he does lots of alliteration. He's great. I really like Raja. He's ridiculous.
Who does not like Raja is Chaz. He immediately hates Raja.
Yeah, he's a real speciesist.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, screw this guy. Screw his dad jokes. I hate him. I don't want him in the party. He's useless.
He is, though.
He just goes on and on.
The most useful party member in the game. I don't know what you guys are talking about. He is
I mean,
great.
he's fine.
He's got the revive spell, which is great. Other than that,
he's got ataraxia, which regains everybody's magic points. That one's pretty useful. He's got mass
useful,
healing, blessing, Saint Elmo's fire spell.
That thing's pretty good.
Yeah. He's got that one, I think it's called Miracle, which kills like any demony enemy right away. That one's pretty good. He's awesome. He's when you get to pick,
he does speak in rhyme sometimes. He has a quote: "For Matovians flee, fly, and fall right on my temple hall." And I guess that's his kind of version of a joke.
Yeah.
To counterpoint John, he does no damage other than that St. Elmo's fire attack, which you can only use 3 times, and he has no health points or defense, and he dies constantly. So for me, he was like an even worse version of Han. And he does have a lot of healing stuff, but he didn't have much more than Rika had, other than Reaver, which is the...
to be ataraxia, regaining your spell points is so important that he becomes a vital party member.
I mean, you say that, but I never used that once, and I managed to get by. Then again, I don't know, is he gone for now? He's gone for good now, or...
Hey, we'll get to it.
Yeah, we'll get there.
We'll get to it. So, this sassy old guy is like, let's go into town. It's pretty close, and I'd very much like to go to the bar.
Ooh.
So, you head over to the town. This is a snowy planet. All snow all the time. I kind of like their towns because it is designed in a way that makes it look as if they dig the snow constantly. So there's like maybe a 20-foot wall of snow around any given town.
Yeah.
And you head in, and the first guy you encounter says, "Hey, this is a good town to have a good time." And the town is called something. I don't remember what this one's called.
Rion. Yeah.
Rewan.
Yeah.
So you head to the bar, and the bartender is a real pervy old man type.
Mm-hmm.
Not in that he's pervy, but that he goes through the same kind of cycle of questions where he's like, oh, do you want to know about this? Do you want to know about the weather? Do you want to know about this mysterious tower?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to know about Raja?
Mhm.
And if you keep talking to him, eventually he'll get to, oh, do you want to know where the spaceship is? Which I don't think this is a really effective way to have a conversation. I think it would be much better if Chaz was just like, I want to know where the spaceship is, rather than have the guy guess what Chaz wants to know.
Now, what I really like in this whole scenario is, first of all, they say, well, we want to fix the problems of the solar system by going to Kuran satellite, which you'd know nothing about, old man, because we need a spaceship to get there. And he's like, one, I know how to get a freaking spaceship. You go talk to my bartender pal. Two, you don't even need to take a spaceship. The whole problem is Gumbia's temple. It's causing all the issues. I can tell there's bad mojo coming from it. I got my psychic powers on. I know something's wrong there. And everyone's like, nah, buddy. Oh, but you do know how to get to spaceship, so we'll take you on that.
Yeah.
And he's also, he decides to come along because he likes, going on adventures.
Yeah, he likes to have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
So, you are told that you need to go to a town called Tyler.
Now, Tyler is not just the name of a terrible child, because all the children I've met named Tyler are just awful.
Yeah, screw you, Tyler Petty.
Hey, I'm from Tyler, Texas.
Oh.
So that means I'm from this city that we're in now.
Oh,
That's
I'm a
right.
Parmean. I'm a Pomeranian, guys.
You're a
Oh,
Parmesan.
right.
I'm a Parmesan.
Yeah, and this town is full of human types.
Mm-hmm.
No, they're Parmesans.
And
They're human
Pomeranians.
types.
you get to learn a little bit of why the two don't live in the same towns, and it's nothing to do with them disliking each other. Like Palmanians and Dazorians get along. It's just that the Dazorians are so into their religion they don't like sharing space with the non-religious humans.
Mm-hmm. Which I guess, fine. I mean, it's not the best, but at least they're not at war or trying to convert each other or whatnot.
I haven't seen too many fantasy sci-fi games where there's a super religious race that just gets along well. They're just like, yeah, let's
That's
just
true.
do our own thing. I like that. It's different.
Yeah, I like it too.
Different from the real world, too, because I can't think of a lot of religions that are like, everybody else is cool, too, and we're fine with that.
Buddhists? A lot of Buddhists
yeah,
out there.
Mm-hmm.
Hindi?
Mhm.
Or Hindus?
Unitarians, probably.
Mhm.
They're pretty chill.
Mhm.
So anyway,
You don't know about Unitarians.
we roll on up to the town of Tyler and talk to some humans. There's a real busty one. I mean, I don't go around looking for real busty NPCs, but she was so busty, it was impossible to ignore.
Yeah, she reminds me of the remember the lady pushing the button in Batman Returns, the snow globe princess lady in the
No.
second Batman, and her outfit reminds me a lot of that.
Mm-hmm. She has a little snowsuit on. It's very tight, and she has sort of an Empire-style belt right underneath her bust line to emphasize her attributes. So you wander around. There's an old man in this town as well. People talk about the old man. You can go see him, and he's like, yep, I'm the one they call the old man. But he doesn't really have any information for you.
So, you have to go over to the grave. Did you guys have any issues here?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
because I forgot to talk to or ask about the spaceship to Rion,
Me too.
bartender man.
Me too. Well, I'm glad we were all on the same stupid page.
Gayuna.
So
That's
Yep.
the
if
bartender.
you haven't gone and asked where the spaceship is, you go and you look at the plaque and it says, touch me. And Chaz is like, I don't know what to do. And so you have to go talk to the bartender and he's like, oh yeah, you gotta go to this grave and touch it. And then you go back and you're like, oh, the plaque says touch me, and the bartender says to touch it, I'm going to touch it.
Some good thinking.
And you do. It splits in two, and there's a staircase. And they're like, oh, let's head on down here. You head on down there, and you find the other spaceship.
Yay!
What?
Yeah.
Does this one look a lot different than the other spaceship that we just lost moments ago?
No.
Oh, wow. So
It looks exactly the same.
Slightly
So,
different paint job. It's the same model. Other
Yep.
people have a Scion, Matthew.
This is like a
And,
fucking 12 billion year old ship, and there just happens to be two.
Yep. And this one is named the Landale after Alice Landale from Phantasy Star 1. And also Tyler
Everyone
is named
really
after
into this Alice lady.
the space pirate Tyler from Phantasy Star 2.
Oh.
Is he a bad guy?
No. No.
In fact, it's his grave that we open up to go get this spaceship.
It's true.
Grave robbing.
Yep. So your robot, Ren, is like, yeah, this ship is in tip-top
Hang
ship
on.
shape.
Whoa!
What?
That was very possessive. He is not your robot. He is his own man.
What are you talking about? He's a robot.
It does not mean that he belongs to anybody.
He doesn't have agency or rights. He's just
You
a
don't know
robot.
that.
Wow.
Whoa!
Youch.
Yikes!
What
He's
happens
just
if they
a bleep bloop robot.
what if they have
He's not-
sentience? If they have sentience, don't you think they should have some rights?
You think my iPhone doesn't know it's an iPhone? I can be like, Siri, what model are you? She'll tell me.
You know, if we keep acting like that, we're gonna get Geth, or Cylons, or Terminators. So
Mhm.
you better start respecting the autonomy of your robots.
It's just a beep boop robot.
Oh.
Anyway.
I hope your Roomba sucks your foot up. So,
So you hop onto this spaceship, and you fly to the new satellite, Kuron.
Yay!
the new
It's
artificial satellite?
Well, the
Mhm.
second one.
The second one.
I like how there's never any non-artificial satellites in this game. It's all artificial satellites.
Well, if you go to
Yep.
a moon or something, that would be a
I said that last week. We are so repetitive.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we've always been really repetitive, guys. I don't know why
Yeah.
you're suddenly noticing that, but this has been the case for 2 years.
I think that Jim usually lulls and calms me with his presence, and now he's gone, and I'm all worked up.
He'll be back.
You're doing
Yeah,
good.
I know. I miss you, Jimmy. Come home.
I can't.
All right. So we hop onto this new satellite. It's much bigger. I was hoping for just another short jaunt, but no, it's a big whole dungeon with robots.
Yeah, it's like Nervous Part 2, basically. Like, it's the same
Yeah.
thing.
Yep.
It's Bleep Bloop Robot Town. It's got a bunch of Bleep Bloop robots.
Mm-hmm.
You can find a high jammer, I think.
Yep.
What is it? What is it?
Well, I think it, like, insta-kills any robots.
No, it that one just freezes robots.
Oh, but you can only use it once?
Yeah, it's not a good attack. Ren, I don't
No.
know. I like the
Well, I've
Phenomenizer
got-
better from Demi, and he doesn't have that.
Yeah, I don't have. I have the two things necessary. There's like a circuit break combo spell that
Yep.
will like destroy all robots, but I would only be able to use it once, so I have never used it.
That's the problem with the combos is they're cool, but they don't really work well against bosses because they're more of a target all enemies thing, and you can only use them once. So it's like I do use them just for the heck of it. I'm like, oh, I want to see that attack animation.
You guys are awfully cavalier about just freezing and killing and doing whatever you want to these robots for someone who thinks that robots are sentient.
It's
These
in
robots don't seem to have any sort of
self-defense.
sentience.
It's
Just-
self-defense.
What proof do you have
Whatever.
that these robots are conscious anyway, Vanessa?
What
I know
proof
that
do you have that Ren is conscious?
Well, he talks to us. He seems to have
So
a personality.
what?
He's been
So
chit-chatting
does
with...
Siri. So does Alexa.
No, Siri and Alexa do not have personalities. Oh, God. See what you did?
Did I activate your Alexa? Moving on. We get to the end of the satellite, and there's a gunky console full of that black
Yeah.
gunk.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's the problem. I see your problem right here with your satellite there, Vanessa. It's got some black gunk and a dark force wedged in it. How'd that happen?
The dark force is there with its skeleton head.
I don't believe this
Jammed
is
into
covered under the current satellite warranty, so you may have to do some extra charges here. You probably shouldn't have put that dark force into your system.
Well, why did they jam Dark Force into the disk drive like a grilled cheese sandwich? It just didn't fit.
This
There's only one way to
happens
get
a
it
lot. Kids and playing around with their satellite, downloading who knows what, and then suddenly you got your dark force.
Yeah, you get excited about all the good work you're doing on your satellite computer, and dark force it just happens.
As an elderly southern computer fixin' man, I can tell you a lot. These dark forces happen all the time.
Surely there's some kind of spray that we can just dissolve it with.
No, it looks like you're going to have to fight them.
All right. So we do. And it wasn't that hard.
No.
It was a little bit lengthy, but
I thought he killed my people. Like, he killed one person. The first time I tried fighting him, he used his killing everybody thing like 3 times in a row. And that was tough. Like, it sort of depends. He has some weak shots that are good, but if he starts using his blasting everybody shots, he can murder pretty fast. And I was on the ropes a couple of times, and I also beat this fight with a dead Chaz, which was annoying because I like him leveling up.
Yeah, because then you don't get experience points for Chaz.
Yeah.
But we do beat him, and this is the end of the game because we have defeated the Dark Force.
Well, this is where it sort of differs from the usual Phantasy Star journey, because he's been the big boss of every Phantasy Star game.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's not.
But they take a look at the console, and they're like, well, there's still this big snowstorm on Desolus, and I guess this satellite wasn't causing the problem.
I guess Raj is like, I've been trying to tell you this the whole time. It's Guvia's Temple.
We gotta go to Guvia's Temple.
Why haven't you been listening to me, you stupid people?
Yeah. Turns out he was right.
Yep.
So smack back onto your spaceship and go back down to Desolus, where you were before.
Yay! Now,
Yay!
I decided to really piss off Raja here and go to the Climate Control Center. I'm like, well, this has to be what's wrong with Desolus, right? And he's like, why are you wasting your time here? This isn't the right place. And there's a super hard boss fight right at the start, like the second you walk into the Climate Control Center.
Mm-hmm.
Another one of those little squid-mouthy Zoidbergs.
Oh.
And you kill that, and you get some extra parts for Ren. You go upstairs, and there's a weird sorcerer guy with a super long, pointy hat standing next to a computer. And you can kill him, too. He's just laughing at you. You kill him, then you look at the systems, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with the Climate Control Center, and it was just a trap. They lured us here, and then Raj at this point is just going nuts. He's like, come on, I told you, there's nothing wrong here. It's Guvia's Temple.
I missed this Climate Control Center altogether. I might go look for it.
It's northeast of Zosa.
Okay. Oh, and I did not mention that we are now able to travel around the planet a little bit more effectively because it turns out Ren the robot had an ice drilling attachment, or I guess not even an attachment. He had a car.
Yep.
The whole time.
It's in the Landale.
It's in the Landale, and it has a snowplow front or something like that, so you can get through large snowdrifts.
I found breaking up these snowdrifts pretty fun.
It's pretty satisfying. They don't stay broken up forever, unfortunately, because I guess it's still snowing.
Yeah.
But it's pretty good to plow right on through there. It's very much like crossing the quicksand on the other planet.
I did realize that the special weapons do not recharge.
Oh.
Because when I was fighting the organic ones, if you use the N-bomb, don't use the N-bomb. But
no.
if you use the energy weapon that kills all organics, there's basically One that's good against mechanical things, one's good against organic things. That one will
I see.
instant kill all organics, and it's good for getting XP. But you do need to go recharge it by going to a town and healing.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, I have fun with these cars because they have weapons, and it's a little bit more interesting than the old chocobo riding.
Yeah.
There's a cave.
Is it full of cats?
Did you go? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was so happy. I was John.
Tell me about
John,
it.
Matt, John.
Did you guys see
Nah.
the chitty cats that talk?
You shitty kind of chalk.
They're all
You go
orange,
into this
too.
cave. Yep, they're all orange.
The best cat color.
Yeah, you kind of walk through, and then you have two sitting in a doorway, and they're like, meow.
I
We
wonder how
said something
Jack would
special
feel
about
the
you,
fact that
meow.
Vanessa just agreed with me that orange cats are best
I was
colored
letting
cats.
it gloss over.
Mhm.
You're fully aware that I have a gray cat.
Mhm.
John has a black cat.
Mhm.
There's also a black cat in this house, which is not mine per se, but we get along very well.
Mhm.
Sometimes she sleeps on my head.
Aw.
And I can
I
see
am
her
allergic
right
to
now.
cats, and that would kill me.
Oh, she's so cuddly. Yeah, we're just gonna let that go because it was ridiculous on his face, and there's no reason to talk about it.
Musk cats!
You talk to these cats, they say meow with
Musk
every
cat.
sentence,
Mhm.
much like that cat puppet from Mr. Rogers.
Yep.
I
Yep.
noticed that statues of Alice OG Alice tend to have little musk cats with them. John,
Yes,
you're a Phantasy Star historian.
I am. Alice had the second party member was Meow, who was an orange musk cat, and
We need to
Meow
play that game now.
was a
Right now.
sort of a mage fighter combo, like had some magic abilities and had some claw abilities.
Oh, the cat.
And then at the end of the game, to get to the final dungeon, you get a Laconian nut from a Dazorian back in Phantasy Star 2. Back in Phantasy Star 1, you do get a nut. You give it to Meow, and Meow turns into a giant winged cat and flies you to the final dungeon. And I think they never explicitly say it that the big old man cat is Meow from the first game.
Yeah, you go through this cave, you talk to the little cats. There's one that is curled up, lying down, and it says, meow, I'm imitating the old man. And then you see the old man, and it's a very large cat with wings, curled up. And you go and talk to him, and he's like, yeah, I feel like I kind of know you. I'm into you. You guys seem great. I'm going to give you my special treasure.
There was one muskcat who said, the beauty of the old man's shuttlecock is unparalleled, Meow.
Yes, it did.
What's a shuttlecock?
Well, a shuttlecock is the thing that you hit around in, what's it called? Backgammon? No, backgammon's a board game. Backgammon?
Oh,
Is it backgammon?
badminton.
Badminton. Yeah, that's a shuttlecock.
Yeah.
Has kind of a ball and some feathers, and you bat it around.
Badminton's actually pretty fun.
I
Yeah, I
like
like
it
it.
too. I like it because it gives you a bit more time to hit a thing.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's gentle. It's a gentle
Yes.
game. So I expected the treasure to be a shuttlecock because the cats kind of talk about the old man's treasure, how they've never seen the treasure. They're really excited about his treasure. It's not a shuttlecock. It is a silver horn.
Silver Tusk.
Silver tusk. A tusk is a horn. I mean, come on.
Speaking of, have we mentioned how everybody thinks that Rika's gross ears are horns?
Yes. No, we haven't talked
I
about
think
that.
it did come up, yes.
Oh, wait. Pause. John's wearing my favorite shirt that John owns, isn't he? Yes.
I said that to him
Saying it.
earlier.
Oh my god. Stop it.
It's true.
Okay.
It's true.
It's
I was
called
like, that is
attention
my
deficit
favorite
disorder.
shirt
Stop
of
being a bunch
yours.
of dickheads.
Well, I'm
Sorry
not
that
sure
I
if you
was
were
at-
even here when I said that.
Excuse me while I look at my phone some more, and then come
Look,
back and ask you questions.
it's just
about
a
what we just
situation
talked
of Matt
about.
and I having a mutual favorite shirt that John wears.
Yay! It's a Sanic shirt from
Gotta
Sanic.
go fast.
Yeah.
So we get this tusk,
Gotta go
and
fast.
it's equipable by
That
Riku.
Sanic looks like he says, "Go fast!" That's it.
That was scary. And then we're off to another town.
Yay!
Yay.
So many fucking towns. This back half of the episode is literally just we went to this one place and fought this one thing.
Yes.
I like this because my favorite part of Final Fantasy games was always discovering the new town and talking to all of the people in it. As a teenager, I could have done without all of the boss battles and monster battles in between and just had a world to explore.
I feel like the second half of the game isn't as fleshed out as the first half, though. I thought that
Possibly.
the stuff on Motavia was a bit more detailed with a lot more stories per town. This one, it seems like the towns are a little slighter than they were before.
And they sort of don't flow together in the same way.
I do like the
next
whole
town-
next two towns, though. Mies and Rochelle. Erotic adventures from Milan to Minsk.
Tell us about the beautiful town of Rochelle.
Rochelle. Well,
You gotta turn on the red light, Rochelle.
oh.
Was that wrong?
So Rochelle is a town with lots of broken buildings. When you walk in there, you get attacked by zombies, which are a new enemy. And
Zombos.
they like spit up at you. They seem like real jerks. It looks like the town has been destroyed by the T-virus.
The T-virus?
Did they? I've never had a group of zombies last long enough for me to see their attacks. Like they don't. They die good.
Yeah. They're not difficult. I feel like maybe you shouldn't be killing them because this is a virus that has a cure.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no, I killed them all.
Yeah, so when they find the cure later, they're like, well, we can go back to Rochelle and heal everybody. And you're like, you tug on your collar. Ugh.
Whoops. So there's really nothing to do in that town, and you head over to Mies.
That's a plural of moose.
Yeah, that's a bunch of. No. That's the plural of mouse, John.
Oh, sorry.
Mises.
Mooses. Mises. I want a goose that lays gold eggs for Easter.
What?
So, in Mies, there's a whole bunch of people, and they're not feeling very well.
Oh, uh-oh.
Turns out they all got a zombie virus.
Oh no, the T-virus.
But there's some dudes there called Espers, not to be confused with Final Fantasy Espers.
Which are also called Eidolons.
Yeah, these guys are just guys with kind of fancy outfits and very fancy hair.
Wow.
And
Guys and girls, it's a very...
guys and girls,
Yep.
yes, you're right.
Yep.
And they are giving a little bit of their life energy to the sick to extend their time before they turn into zombies. And you're walking around. Everyone's like, oh, yeah, when you get sick, you get a really high fever. It's pretty bad. Onset is quick, and there's really no way to prevent it. And suddenly your Raja gets very ill.
No.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I'm sick, and collapses.
Yep. I kind of liked his running commentary. I'm sort of bummed he's out of the party. I'm not
Yep,
not
he
as
sure
upset
is.
as Alice's death, but he's not dead. He's just sick.
No, he's just ailing.
Yeah.
So he gets tucked into bed, and he's like, I'm not going to come with you, but you really need to go to this Geshel temple I keep talking about. Like, I seriously need you guys to go there.
Gumbius.
No more messing around. You got to go to Gumbius temple.
Stop being so pokey. Go to Gumbius temple.
And it turns out that one of the Espers has gone off to Gumbius, and they're like, well, She went by herself, but if you're able, it would be great if you could track her on down.
Mm-hmm.
So you head off to Gumbius real quick, and you run into a forest.
Mm-hmm.
A thick forest of sentient trees.
Ugh.
And these trees, you can battle them. You see the Esper girl fighting them, and you jump into the fray. And the more you kill, the more appear. And there's just no way around it. These trees are invincible, invulnerable, unstoppable, plentiful, and there's nothing to do but to run away.
I actually figured this out on my own as a
Me too.
16-year-old. I was very proud of myself.
Oh.
Or, 15-year-old.
I understand. I figured it out as my whatever age I am now year old, and I was proud of myself as well.
Yeah.
So you run away, and you take this girl with her.
Mm-hmm.
Her name is Kira. And she's like, hey, these trees, they're bad news, but our Grand Leader Lutz definitely knows what to do about them, because Lutz knows everything.
Mm-hmm.
He lives in Esper Mansion, where we all live together as some kind of cult, I guess, and we all love Lutz very much. I saw him once from a distance. He's handsome and amazing,
Mm-hmm.
but usually you don't see him because he just chills out in his inner sanctum. But I'm sure if we go and we ask very nicely, we can meet Lutz.
Ooh.
Did she explain why Lutz is so cute?
Because he's like the super powerful leader of her cult /
Yeah.
religious organization.
So she
He's the
doesn't
best
explain here.
magician. Super great.
Nope.
Super cool. She is a Lutz fangirl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like
Oh.
her. She's got
Yellow
sort of a Shakespeare sister, little bit of a mullet with blue hair and
Mhm.
another circlet. She seems pretty cool, actually. I like her design
Yeah,
quite a bit.
she seems great. She joins your party. You head off to the Esper Mansion.
Mm-hmm.
It's full of Espers. And you head over to the inner sanctum,
Mhm.
which usually people aren't allowed to go into. And Kira's like, I really need to go in. And they're like, no way.
Mm-hmm.
And then, John, tell us what happened.
Well, Rune's like, oh, let me in. And they're like, oh, yes, right away, sir. Rune? Why would they let Rune in?
It's very strange.
And so you go into the building, and the old man in this inner sanctum's like, oh, Rune, it's good to see you again.
What?
And Kira's like, what? What's going on
Hold
here?
up a minute. Rune is from the other planet.
That's true.
How can... What? Come on.
He's got magic powers. So you go
Okay.
into this basement of the inner sanctum, and there's a floating ball, a floating metal ball,
Mhm.
like a real phantasm. And Rune is like, well, there's no one here because, well, let's face it, I'm totally Lutz.
Bum,
What?
bum, bum.
And they're like, but Lutz is thousands of years old. And he's like, well, Lutz is like a consciousness that he put into this ball, and I'm actually the fifth Lutz. So, yeah, we've been around for over 2,000 years. And Lutz, I believe, this is where the translations get a bit wonky. I think Lutz is the mage from the first game.
Yeah.
And then he went into the second game and sort of founded this order of Espers. And now he's like, his consciousness is passed on. But it does mean you can live hundreds of years and have like superpowers. So I think that's how
Mhm.
Rune traveled from planet to planet, with some kind of magical system. He doesn't explain. They never ask.
Yeah, they don't ask very many questions, considering they just found out that this guy they've been traveling with has been this Lutz guy all along.
I mean,
They
he
don't
has
ask,
that-
like, why did you make us come to your mansion just to tell us that you were Lutz?
Yeah, that was pretty dumb. He does have that Rijuka or whatever spell, so
But that
he can't
normally
travel from.
Normally
planet to planet,
that
but
that
maybe he can?
spell won't let you travel. At least in Chaz's version, you can't travel between planets. You can only travel on the planet you're on.
Mm-hmm.
But he
No,
might-
that's what I'm suggesting.
Yeah.
I'm suggesting that
Mhm.
Rune is able to go planet to planet.
So Chaz is kind of like, what the hell?
I
Like, what's this all about?
I want listeners who are familiar with this series to help me out with something. So, at the end of Phantasy Star 2, at the end of Phantasy Star 2, your whole crew is arrested by I thought what was Lutz and the Espers. And they're the ones that it looks like they're going to kill you or imprison you, and it never answered, because this is the game that tells you what happens after, and it doesn't. So if anyone knows what happened between Phantasy Star 2 and 4 to the people that got abducted by Lutz, I'd really like to know.
Wait, he abducted someone?
Yeah, he like arrests you after you kill Dark Force at the end of Phantasy Star 2.
Okay.
And
well, maybe he eats them.
Because I actually never got that far in the game. I got to Mother Brain, who was a very, very hard boss, and didn't get past it. Or no, Nay First. Nay First, that's the boss I got killed at.
Oh,
that's a hard game.
Happens.
Yeah.
May 1st.
Yeah, Nay First.
May 1st.
Anyway, so Lutz is Rune.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
and Chaz is kind of like, what's that about? And Lutz explains that he thinks Chaz is special.
Yeah. Oh, shoot.
It's like
It's not Gumby. Okay, there's two towers, and I'm getting them really confused. There's Gumbius Temple, which is next to Jut. That's the where we're going to. And then there's Garuberg Tower.
Tower is where we're going.
That's the one that's blocked by the trees.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we've just been wrong the whole time.
Yeah.
Well, we're not going to re-record that.
Nope.
So, listeners...
I've kept meaning to point that out to you guys, but then kept forgetting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to the temple to get the thing that we need to get to the tower, and the tower is where...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know.
Whoever's editing this episode, just go back and insert yourself saying Garibos.
Yeah, exactly.
So, we have a chat, and he's like, Chaz, I've chosen you to be my special soldier.
Oh.
I think that you can do it, and I'm gonna come with you and make sure that you are as special as I think you are.
Is this like a Lou Pearlman and Backstreet Boys kind of situation? I feel very uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, I guess because Rune really is like 500 years old, sort of.
Right.
It's kind of like he's got a trill in him, right?
Yeah, let's say that. That makes sense.
Because he does refer to the memories of Lutz as kind of being separate from his own.
Right.
It's like Lutz remembers this and that.
Yeah.
Anyway, they don't seem that shaken by this news.
I mean, why would they? They just found out that there is a person named Lutz, and then the guy that they're with was like, "Oh yeah, that's me," and it's like, "Oh okay." And now Rune Lutz is like, "Chaz, you're the chosen one I've chosen you to save the world," as opposed to like the beginning of the game where he was like, "Chaz, you're a stupid piece of shit. I don't like you."
At the beginning, he was like, screw you, Chaz. Don't try to fight Zio. And Chaz is like, why would I do that? And he's like, just don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he was using reverse psychology the whole time. I think he wanted him to fight Zio.
Well, he was right, though. Chaz was not ready to fight Zio at that time, because when he tries, he almost gets killed, and Alice has to step in.
Alice killed.
Yeah, until he gets Alice killed. So I think he had a point.
He needs that psycho wand first. But he could have very easily just said, instead of being all enigmatic, be like, hey, we need this wand before we can fight Zio. And no one would have had to die.
I do feel like he could have explained the whole situation a bit better.
Yeah, he's just trying to be mysterious and cool. It's so irritating. Anyway, you pack up into your ship. You got to go get this thingamabob to burn the trees down. The eclipse flame or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And on your way, you run into the town of Jut, the most important town in the game.
We have a friend named Anne-Marie, who I think would love this town because
I thought of her as well.
Penguins.
And this town is full of giant, fat, Snorlax-sized penguins, and they are amazing.
Uh-huh.
Did you guys go buy penguin feed from the store?
I did.
I did not.
If you buy penguin feed from the store, as you're trying to walk out the door, a giant penguin runs by and steals your penguin feeds.
one of the features of Jut is the penguin walk, where you can get a penguin and it'll walk around with you until you enter a store or house or leave the town. So it's
so good.
Completely pointless. But if you talk to a lady, recommends it, and if you go back and talk to her again, she's like, "Okay, well, I know this is pointless, but that's kind of the fun. That's the whole thing. Is it's just you can just enjoy yourself by being followed around by a giant penguin."
Yeah, it waddles along. It's so cute and good. And the town people explain that they have taken the owls that are around and genetically engineered them into penguins.
That's amazing.
Oh.
Are these the same owls as, like, Gruz is?
Grizz?
Yeah.
Maybe. I hope not.
Yikes!
No. It's the owls that you've been fighting. Remember?
Yeah.
No.
On the
These are Grizz. These are Grizzes, and the people of this town have done some, human centipede tusk style body modification to make them into penguins.
No, I think it's the native creatures on Dezolas, which are like the if you go outside in the world map, there are some owls that fight you. And it's those owls.
So, super great, real good town. Fat, fluffy peng.
I thought we finished with Lutz. Why are we still going?
Because we're still going. Calm down.
This is basically it. This is the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. We just want to talk about giant penguins.
Giant penguins.
The best penguins.
They talk about how they don't eat the giant penguins, but they do eat their eggs.
Oh. Like, hopefully it's like, how chickens lay non-fertilized eggs.
I'm sure.
It's not. They feast upon the young in front of them. Yes. Slamming scrambled penguin eggs down their gullets while staring at the penguins as the penguins look on with tears in their penguin eyes.
Oh, it's just like District 9. Oh, we got a whole batch of eggs here. We're just going to fry them up.
Penguins. They're so cute.
Penguins.
And then you scoot yourself along to Gumbia's temple.
And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it for
the end.
The quest log.
This was a lot of game.
This is the biggest chunk for sure. The next two chunks are much smaller to pace ourselves towards the end.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
I did enjoy this part of the game. I thought it got a little bit more wacky and wondrous, and I like that.
Yeah.
I actually feel like this is kind of where it slowed down. It got a little boring here for me.
Yeah.
Oh.
I liked the wacky wondrousness. I liked the cats. I liked the penguins. I liked the trees. I liked the fact that Rune has been this Let's guy the whole time. It was just like, whatever. I like the spaceship. I like that your spaceship crashes for no reason and you have to get another spaceship.
Well, no, it crashes for a very specific reason. You should use magic and fight on a spaceship.
Yeah. If we learned nothing from the Liam Niesson vehicle non-stop, we learned that you shouldn't use magic and fight on a spaceship.
Wait, that was
Is that it? Did we do a podcast?
Yeah. We just got to do some squarely against and get the heck out of here.
Yeah. Any mini games?
No.
Oh.
And Jim can't rate any babes, so...
So once again, the babes will go unrated.
He's going to have to rate 3 babes on the next episode.
He will. And I believe in his power to do it. And where are we playing to next time?
Oh, let me open up. I think it's when you meet Seth, but let me just double check on the calendar. I have it.
Did you say Seth?
Yeah. Seth.
Oh, he sounds dreamy.
He's got a questionable mustache.
Oh, no. Oh.
Yeah, next time on Square Roots, we are playing Until You Meet Seth, the traveling archaeologist.
Oh.
With a questionable mustache.
Oh. And that's it for Square Roots, except for our final segment, Squarely Against.
Squarely Against. It's where you're against things, unless you're roundly for.
Squealy Against.
Matt, what are you squarely against?
I'm just, you know what? I'm gonna steal it. I am Brownlee for giant talking cats and giant stupid penguins. Those are my favorite things. Vanessa!
Mm-hmm.
What's squarely against?
I am squarely against the poor attitude that Chaz has towards Raja. Yes, he speaks in rhyme and he tells some dad jokes, but Chaz really needs to chill because he's not that great either.
Not that great.
Yeah, just have a little bit more kindness to your companions, Chaz. I know he is going through the loss of his mentor and maybe that's affecting the way he's behaving, but, take a moment for yourself, center yourself. Step away for 5 minutes and come back with a new attitude.
Mm-hmm.
John, what are you squarely against?
I am roundly for Raja, who now I realize, due to his sometimes rhyming, could be considered the jazz/roadblock of Phantasy Star 4. So
I don't understand those references.
Well, I can't explain everything to you, Vanessa.
It's true. All right. That has been Square Roots. Please join us next time for part 4 of Phantasy Star 4.
Phantasy Star 4.
Fancy Star. Before we go, listeners, quick information. You can send us an email. Our email address is squarerootspodcast@gmail.com if you want to talk to us about anything at all. But if you can't be bothered to send us an email, join us at our Facebook page where we post new episodes, or our Facebook group where we chit-chat.
Yay!
And that is the Square Roots group for smart, cool, very attractive people. John.
Our theme song for the series is by Sharp Rain Music. Check out their YouTube page for tons of awesome video game covers. And also rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you screenshot your review and post it to the Facebook group or on Twitter, I'll tell you how you leveled up.
Hey, guys. The new theme song, thumbs up.
Yeah,
really
it's pretty
good.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it for real for this episode of Square Roots. I've been your host, Vanessa.
I'm Matthew Van Zant.
I'm John Brandon.
And I'm Vanessa.
I was hoping you'd do that.
Bye.
We missed you, Jim.
Bye, Jim.
Please come back to us, Jim.
Jim.
Jim.